Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. And I want to
And
apologize. I want to apologize to our YouTube viewers. We are not broadcasting on YouTube for some odd reason. Nothing I can do about it now, but I just wanted to apologize for it. This show will be uploaded to YouTube after the show.
well, that's kind of odd because you're having issues with stuff on the screen on your board
Yeah.
there today. I don't know. Maybe it's sabotage. I don't know. Well, welcome. It's Monday in the Riv, and after a Veterans Day weekend, and I really liked the weekend flush. You hit some good stuff, and you talked a little bit about the veterans and a lot about the veterans actually, and it was, and I know that you were saying that one of our local politicians was saying, and liberty and justice for all. They all love to wave the flags, like you said, in it on Veterans Day in that farce of a parade. Then they didn't care about elderly and most of them, some of them veterans, not be able to watch the parade on South Main Street, as you said so accurately in the flush. They wanted to show off their Taj Mahal. So it was a parade for all the people who control our government, because our lazy voters don't get out, and we have virtually we've only got one person on the council that's really not from the north end or the near north end, and they control the government. They got money. They don't care about you. They gave you the barota, and you talked about and justice, liberty and justice for all. I see a great irony in that, because we see what's happened over the weekend. I actually saw a veteran who had lost both of his legs. He was a Marine bomb tech, lost both of his legs in Iraq, and he was talking about how he's been trying to get a wheelchair, specialized wheelchair, for 10 years. And he can't get it. He has prosthetics, but that came on the heels of a story that the Colorado Veterans Administration had denied prosthetics for a whole bunch of veterans who've lost limbs and need special equipment, because their lives are forever changed because of their service to their country. And the reason they did it was because if they were on the list and hadn't got their prosthetics, it would look like they had a even larger backlog than they actually showed, and they didn't want to get in trouble. So it was like, screw the veterans, all these high paid people that work at the VA. Look, the VA is always been pathetic. They should completely eliminate the VA and revamp it and put people in who really care. So this is what really pisses me off. Every Veterans Day, when these politicians get up, start waving flags. Joe couldn't even figure out where to put the wreath. He was wandering around aimlessly. And nothing aggravates me more than that, because I've seen what the VA does. I know a lot of people who've had to deal with the VA. As I said, one of my a very close friend of mine who died from exposure to Agent Orange and had it was awful. He got everything. He got heart disease. He got cancer. He got everything, and yet it went through hell filing all the paperwork to finally get him the benefits he deserved. So, these disingenuous SOBs, they just irritate me to the extreme. And when a guy who loses both his legs has to wait 10 years for a wheelchair, and this is not a unique case. There are literally thousands of veterans like this. We have veterans in the street with psychological problems, with drug problems, with no homes. And what are we doing in Massachusetts today? We're giving them out. We're giving all the illegals everything they want: work visas, classes, you name it, they got it. And while our veterans wallow in the streets, unless we have world leaders coming over. They took all the homeless people out of San Francisco. They had people in exposure suits, hosing down the feces and the urine, cleaning up everything, making it look beautiful. So all the politicians would say, look at this beautiful, look how nice this city is. We don't even know where they put these people. And there were literally thousands of them. That's what they did. The same thing they did at the border. The one time Joe Biden went to the border, he never saw one illegal. They got rid of them all. This is your media. This is your news organizations. They will cover that San Francisco visit, and you will see clean streets, no drug addicts passed out on the street, shooting up on the street, crapping on the street, urinating on the street. This is what the wokies do. They pretend. This is the real world. So, if you think I'm pissed, I am. But back to you now. I just...
Well, no, I just had a comment about that. Maybe they put them all in Alcatraz. I mean, it's got toilets.
So. You know something? That's pretty smart. That may actually be where they are.
That's right. Send them over to Alcatraz. I mean, you can't go wrong that way. It's got a kitchen. It's got everything. So I think it's very funny. And just so you know, because I read this report, it takes up to a minimum of 233 days for an application for veterans benefits to be considered. 233 days. Doesn't mean approved, it means considered. Okay? So that gentleman with no legs is going to have to wait a minimum of 233 days to get a wheelchair. But if there are any veterans who need hospital equipment, wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, hospital beds, any of that, the Massachusetts Freemasons have a supply of medical equipment that they're willing to lend out or give to those in need. So all you have to do is contact a local Masonic lodge, and they will put you in touch with the people that control those pieces of equipment. And I think that's a great thing to do. I mean, people need them. And I know for many periods I've gotten people some wheelchairs and walkers, and I even got somebody a hospital bed because they needed it so desperately.
Well, it's a national disgrace. I mean, obviously, the board is a national, but what they do to veterans, and I see Mr. X posted about price them all out, the new pledge in Fall River. And it was ironic because I actually was going through some paperwork, getting rid of some of the stuff we had for the election that nobody ever used, that we showed. But it was funny, I pulled this old sheet that I had, a little fact sheet here. And it's funny that he said that, because this is probably a year ago, maybe longer than a year ago. We covered this on a show. This is an excerpt from a letter from the National Association of Home Builders, and this is a quote. This is verbatim from the letter. We are writing to urge the White House to take immediate action as the housing market is reaching an inflection point that threatens to derail the current housing and economic expansion. An unexpectedly quick rise in interest rates, rising home prices and rents, and escalating lumber and material costs have significantly decreased housing affordability conditions, particularly for entry-level buyers and renters, unquote. So there you go. But what has the government done about it? Nada. What has Fall River done about it? Nada. I tell you what they're doing about it. They're going to give out some tithes, tax incentives. to the people with all the money. There's three of them on the agenda. I believe three. You got
Yes,
that,
there are
CJ?
three.
And they're going to give these people. We're going to pay 80% of their taxes for 5 years, and then 20% for the next 5 years, and they're going to put in for HDIP grants. So these rich people that can afford to make these developments are going to get. They're going to get tax subsidies. Do we get tax subsidies? Council, we don't get. We're going to pay that because those taxes will be paid. They will be deferred to the taxpayers of the city of Fall River. And the last time I checked, even though these commies call themselves Democrats, but they're communists, they say we live in a democracy. Save democracy! Vote Democrats! Save democracy! It's not democratic. They don't care. They don't care about the regular people. This isn't a democracy. This is a place where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That's what they want. The reality is that they're going to give. I thought we lived in a capitalistic society. What's next? When a pizza joint opens and goes out of business, are we going to now pay 80% of their taxes to keep them in business? The rule is in a capitalistic society, you open up a business, it's a profit-making business. If you make a profit, you stay in business. If you don't make a profit, you go out of business. It's a sad reality. That's the way it's supposed to work. But these people get it on both ends. They got millions of dollars to invest in these properties, but they can't pay their taxes. They want us to pay their taxes. This is outrageous. And now we're on TIFs and tithes. This is another little thing from the Urban Tax Study Institute. Numerous urban tax impact studies have shown that there is a dramatic negative impact on low fixed income people and renters when there is a rapid increase in housing and rents due to developers and gentrification projects that are attempted. Foreclosures and evictions skyrocket in vulnerable populations. Again, that's about a year old. What have they done about it? What have they done about it? They've built more market rate housing to make the problem worse, and we're going to pay all their damn bills. So you can tell I'm on fire today. So the veterans really get me. Veterans get me fired up, but I'm fired up today. So CJ, take it over.
Well, it's very interesting. I wrote about the TIFs and the tie. I had a conversation with City Councilor Andrew Raposo about the ties because I didn't believe that they should get them. And in doing further research, I found out that the ties are actually part of the HDIP program. So your state legislators, Alan Sylvia, Carol Fiola, Paul Schmidt, Michael Rodrigues, all voted in the affirmative to give TIFs and ties and HDIP grants to developers to destroy the fabric of Fall River. That's what they're doing. They're destroying the fabric of Fall River. Okay? And Paul Coogan and Ken Fiola are the hatchet men. They're the ones standing at the guillotine and pulling the lever to chop the head off of Fall River. Okay? And then we won't have a Fall River that we remember. I was watching a couple of videos today of some history. For some reason, Carlos Caesar and a few other people started posting some old Fall River Celebrates America videos. And one of them came from WBZ from 1988 or 1989, where they not only talked about Fall River Celebrates America in about this much of the piece, they spoke about the fabric of Fall River, the history of Fall River, where Fall River came from, the cultural fabric of Fall River, Columbia Street, the Flint, downtown. It spoke about what made Fall River great. It was the cultural society of Fall River. And we don't have that anymore. We don't have that anymore. Okay, Fall River is becoming a desolate place that Paul Coogan and Ken Fiola are trying to revitalize with gentrification. Hence why the train came in, because they're hoping that that train is going to bring people in from Boston and Newton and Quincy and have them live down here where the rents are going to be lower, which it's not going to be because the way they're running it right now, they're jacking up the rents. So they won't be lower than Boston. They may be a little bit lower, maybe a couple of $100 lower, maybe $1,000 lower, but they're not going to be lower, and they're going to get less services. And I think you're going to see a major, major shift in the administration. Now that he's been reelected for a third term, you're going to see a major shift in his priorities, in the budgeting, in the staffing, in what needs to happen in Fall River. I think you're going to see a major shift. And believe me, I don't think it's going to be for the better. I think we're going to pay for it the hard way. I think we're going to have people who are going to be out of work. I think we're going to have people wondering where their next paycheck's coming from. We're going to have requests from the city council and the mayor for a Prop 2.5 override. We're going to have requests from the mayor and the city council for additional fees like a trash fee or a pay-as-you-throw fee. We're going to see it. We're going to see increases in all types of fees, all types of service fees, and we're going to have to pay them because the city council that you elected that's coming into office in January is Coogan favorable. There are 6 members of that council which will consistently and regularly vote in the affirmative for anything proposed by Paul Coogan, which means they don't represent you, the people. They represent the administration. They represent Paul. And I'm sure if we look deep into the backgrounds, there are some favors somewhere given, because there's always a favor being given somewhere, whether it be a job for a family member, a job for a constituent, it's something. And with all the pay raises and all the jobs that have been given by Paul Coogan in this budget cycle, you're going to see, and remember, he's been looking at things like privatizing EMS, which I think is crazy because they make money, and permanent, here's the word, permanent cuts to police and fire. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. That's for sure. Back to you, Chip.
Well, you're right, and I think that will be the purple bag moment for Paul Coogan. They made note that he joined Jaisal Correa and Will Flanagan as a 3-term mayor, and both of those people did not basically finish their 3rd term. Jaisal got indicted during his 3rd term and became fundamentally impotent. And Flanagan got bounced out, as we well know, because we were the bounceys. He was the bouncy, we were the bouncers. So he got bounced, and I think the people are gonna, this will be it. I think the people will finally rise up, because I'm gonna tell you something. We know what they do all the time: cut fire, cut police. You need a 2.5 override if you want to keep firing police, and it's time for the people of Fall River to get, to start another revolution like we did in 14. It's time to them to go down to the city council and tell those 8 clowns that live in the North End or near the North End and who got plenty of money in their pockets and don't give a damn about us, to say, no cuts in fire, no cuts in police. Cut the 68 jobs you created with opera money. Take back all the pay raises that you gave. And as a matter of fact, talking about jobs, we got somebody left over from the Jaisal administration that, Paul Coogan, we talked about force multipliers and networking to get votes. Paul Coogan's got his tick network. So we got another political hanger-oner that is now working for the Coogan administration in the elections office. They're working part-time, and it is allegedly they're working full-time now. This is what they do. He has created more jobs. How about the 4 supervisors in his reorganization doing the job that one supervisor, when all those jobs are obliterated from the budget, what's his chief of staff getting now? Near $100 grand? All illegally? Because remember, the first pay raise he gave her, city council didn't approve it. And he still gave it to him, which is a violation of the law. So every subsequent pay raise for everybody who got a pay raise that year is technically illegal. And that's the problem. Yeah, you're right. We can't afford it. Everybody knows it, and he knew it. He lied, as he always does. But they don't care. The people in the North End will only be here till they retire, and they'll bail out. Just like as soon as his banker friend's wife got out of the Fall River school system, they were gone. Swansea, here we come, baby. Bye-bye, Fall River. What did Paulie do when he retired? Bye-bye, Fall River. I'm going to Somerset. And I think he's still living there. A lot of people say he's spending most of his time there. I drive by his house a lot. I know some of his neighbors that say there's one light on in that place. I'd like to see his electric bill. He's probably got the lowest electric bill in history, because they never see much action there. They see him once in a while, maybe washing a window, cutting the grass. But you don't see a lot of action around that Bobby townhouse. They're all going to bail. You know what he's going to say? He's going to leave this. He's going to leave this city in rubble, and he's going to move away and say, good, you pay the bills that I created for you. You pay for the loan that, oh, we can't afford Diamond all of a sudden. We're not flush anymore. We're not flush. And what do the people in this city do? They give him a bunch of his stooges to help him out. So, you know, unfortunately, you get what you elect. And they elected him. And how did they elect him? So now we got more of these people infiltrated, talking about jobs that never leave. We were talking about it before the show. We got a guy left over from the Flanagan administration who just disappeared into the woodwork. Nobody knew what he did when he was in the Flanagan administration, and now nobody's seen, hide nor hair of him for what, 5 years now? I don't know, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, they're going to pull the same old crap that they always do, and it's up to us to say no. No. You know, there may be another recall on the horizon, but there will be a revolution. Because as it said in this paper, there will be foreclosures and evictions that are skyrocketing to the vulnerable populations. And the reality is, you hit it on the head in what you just said, CJ. The reality is, listen, there's nobody from Newton moving down here. They're going to come down here. There's virtually no place. Newton's got 10,000 more businesses than we got. They're elitists. Those people, if they're going to move anywhere, they're going to Martha's Vineyard. They're not coming to Fall River, you boneheads. Oh, they down there at Cadero's place. Yeah, they're from the naval base. The feds are paying their rent. They don't spend any money or time in Fall River. They're there at the War College, and when they're gone, they'll be replaced by new people. This is all BS. You think somebody that's used to living in Boston, with all the stuff that's available around Boston, the theater district, Chinatown, the Esplanade, the Boston Pops in the summer, rowing, you're sculling down the River Charles with all the rest of the yuppies. Yes, you can do that in Fall River. The only problem is when you get done and you take your boat out of there, the whole front of the boat will be full of the toilet paper that's floating around in the Taunton River. Yeah, they're coming down here. You know, get a grip. All you elitists living in the North End, you don't like anybody else in the city. And we know that. I don't care how many pictures Brad Kilby takes in a pizza joint right before the election. He does not live in the same world we do. They live in a different world up there. That's why they had the veterans parade at their Taj Mahal, as you said. You know, if it, you know, this is just, it's infuriating for somebody who's seen this. They've never cared about the poor people, and all you got to do, there's a double standard in this country. Just look at yesterday. The president's granddaughter, somebody carjacked, and the carjackings are by the thousands in the D.C. area. Somebody tried to carjack one of the Secret Service cars, and a Secret Service agent discharged his weapon. What do you think would happen in Fall River if a police officer discharged his weapon at a carjacker? They'd say, "Why did you shoot at him? Why didn't you just yell at him or something and scare him off?" No. Why? Because it's the president's family. It's the Secret Service. It's the Dems. That's why. Just like January 6th. You got some guy who already had been censured for improper use of his firearm, shoots an unarmed woman. They gave him a medal. And they're still hunting down everybody who went into the Capitol. But they had pro-Palestine demonstrators in a Capitol building with a sit-in. They defaced, painted all over the stuff, defaced statues. Not one of them got arrested. Why? Because just like the BLM rioters, they killed, I don't know, 12 people, I guess, in the BLM, caused billions of dollars worth of damage. Nobody's hunting them down. Matter of fact, everybody gave them money so they could all buy new houses. So I don't give a damn what anybody says. If you don't think that there's a caste system in the United States, you better get your head out of your rectum. To you, CJ.
Yeah, there's always something, and we see this all the time here in Florida. If you were following some of the comments that were being made, people are saying recall Paul, and Jim McKivney or whatever said no recalls. Stupid waste of time and money. They're only 2-year terms, and you're right. I mean, recalls.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm tired of that nitwit. Okay? Because you know something? You know what you're saying, you moron? You want to get a hot dog and talk to me face to face, you moron? You're saying it's a waste of time for the people to exercise their constitutional right. Read the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It says they are answerable to us at all times. What is the epitome of answering to the public? To allow the public at any time, even during the middle of a term, to recall somebody. You show you're a commie too. Now you can take it back. Well, keyboard warrior. Let's go get a hot dog.
I'll take mine with sauce and cheese, thank you. It's people have their political beliefs. People have their beliefs on whether or not recalls are good, recalls are bad. But remember, the recall has always been a very questionable thing here in Fall River. And what's happened is that people have been on both sides. I mean, during our recall, families were fighting each other. People were for Flanagan, people were against Flanagan. It had, and the worst part about it wasn't about any one issue. And this isn't about one issue. This is about many issues. This is about lack of fiscal accountability. This is about lack of transparency. This is about patronage jobs. This is about patronage pay raises. This is about poor employee management. There's a lot of things that are going on in the administration, and we need to know what they are. And this administration doesn't want to give us anything. He never wants to give us any information. Okay? And again, we need that information. We want to know where our tax dollars are going, and we need to know where they're going. And until we do, I mean, you can't expect people to follow up.
Well, let me just say one thing, CJ, for that clown. Uh, we still had the biggest turnout in an election with only a recall on it. He
That's right.
says it's a waste. Well, guess what? If we had 33% of the people vote in this election, Paul Coogan would not have been the mayor, and we wouldn't have the city council we do. So we proved that when you allow the people to speak and you do it right, we do have a decent turnout. The most that we've had in a very, very long time in any election. Look at the last 3 elections that Coogan was involved in. Less than 15,000 people, less than 14,000 people, yet we get nobody out. But we got him out in the middle of December with no council race to pull in all the political ticks, with no school committee race to pull in all the political ticks, and no mayoral race, and nothing except that one little item in the middle of December, December 16th to be exact. And we still got the highest turnout around. And I think it was even higher than that, because I think at that time they said we had 50,000 registered voters, and we know a lot of those people never vote. So that 33% was predicated on 50,000, and we still got 33%. I think it was actually probably higher than that. And I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's good. I want to see 70%, but you know what the problem is? The people that 30% that doesn't vote anymore got fed up with the bullshit in Fall River, and they all moved out. I remember when I worked for this city, 95 to 100% of every department lived in the city of Fall River. Now virtually nobody lives in Fall River. Half of our government high-paid people don't live in Fall River. The other, I don't know where Aikens is from, but he's not Fall River. East Providence. I don't know where he's from. I know the CFO's from Warwick. Half of these people live out of town because the people got fed up. The people who actually paid attention and didn't have a political alliance, but they had an alliance to having good government, used to go vote. Because somebody asked me, well, what's your explanation of the low turnouts? Well, most of the people who used to turn out got fed up and left. And the rest of the people here are just too damn busy trying to make a living, I guess, or what. But the recall got them out. When you really press the button, we had the highest turnout. So guess what? Our turnout beat your turnout. So it showed that the people were more interested in a recall than they have been in any mayoral election that Paul Coogan's ever been in. So take that to the bank.
Well, and the interesting thing is Paul was part of a recall election, because that was when they were trying to recall Jazel. They didn't run that election properly, and that's why, although Jazel was recalled, he was reelected to office because nobody changed the law when they created the charter, because people are too lazy, I guess. But when a recall is done correctly, it's very effective, and that's something people need to realize. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.